You're listening to the Marne Report.
Well, hey, Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield, Molly here with your latest edition of the Marne Report. And today I'm here with my friend Brett Cowan from the Installation Directorate of Public Works, and we are going to talk about October being Energy Action Month. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today, Brett.
Yep, thanks for inviting me.
So before we get started, tell me a little bit about what you do within the Directorate of Public Works.
I work as a utility engineer in the Operation and Maintenance Division in the DPW. So I'm mostly working with Canucci EMC,
Sure.
who is the utility privatization contractor that handles all of our electrical distribution on the base.
Awesome.
And I am also working on multiple projects to try to improve the energy efficiency and resiliency of the base.
Perfect. So you are essentially the perfect person for me to talk to you about Energy Action Month. So tell me exactly, what is it? Why do we have it? Why does the Army find it to be so important?
So basically, the Army every year has a event to celebrate the Energy Action Month. And so this year's theme is energy resilience, sustain the mission, secure the future. And the reason why energy resilience is so important is because, the Army has a mission, and that is protect our interests, protect the interests of our allies. So they need to be capable to support that mission at any given moment. So one of the important things about that is, you need a power to do a lot of things. And here in Georgia, everyone's probably aware of the power always going out from thunderstorms, lightning storms. So having the means to essentially still provide power during those disruptions is incredibly important to the Army's mission. Now, energy resilience, you may not, or an individual may not think that they can affect that resilience, on an installation scale, but you actually can. And so one of those things is by increasing the efficiency, the energy efficiency of the base, and or cutting the consumption of energy, and those indirectly support resilience. So what I mean by that is if we are, reducing how much energy or water we are consuming or increasing the efficiency, that allows our current backup power sources or our current water sources to extend a lot further during those outages.
Sure.
And so that is one of the important ways that those two things can improve our energy resilience.
So what about tips? Do you have any special tips for anybody of how we can conserve energy, maybe in our homes, here while we're on Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield, in our offices?
Yeah, so I actually came with a bunch of tips that pretty much anyone can apply, both, while they're working in their building or if they're, living at home on the installation. So one of the things is to turn off unnecessary lights during the day. That can mean, shutting off lights in unoccupied rooms. Something I see a lot, driving around the installation is that there are buildings with external building lights that are on during the day. Kind of one of my pet peeves about that. So making sure those are off during the day would tremendously benefit, the energy, reducing the energy consumption of the base. And then also something that each individual can help us when it comes to street lights is if you see a street light on during the daytime, the best thing to do is to get a pole number and then to call the DPW service order desk. So that's either 767-2883 for Fort Stewart or 315-4003 for Hunter Army Airfield. And the pole number, all you really need to do is just go to the base of the pole. There should be a number that's couple digits long. It's around like 7. And that'll really help Canucci locate that pole and address whatever issue it's having since it's on.
I never even thought about something like that.
Yeah. That's that gets kind of, I guess you could say, frustrating because the pole number is like the most important part when we have issues with our streetlights. Because, if we get a call in saying, hey, there's a couple lights out on this road, well, that road could be a mile long.
Sure.
And if they're out, we have to wait until night
and then make
to
the drive.
ride it, right, to kind of take note. It's the same thing, like maybe not having to wait at night, but someone has to, go to that road or that location and figure out what lights are off. So at least having that pole number, Canucci, it's a lot easier for Canucci to locate it and then address it.
Wow. That's pretty cool. You never think about something like that pulling the energy, from the installation. I always thought, hey, those things are on timers. They'll eventually go off. But okay, you guys heard it here first.
Right.
Make the call.
Right. Yeah, they actually do have timers, but, sometimes even those timers can malfunction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so what about in the home? I know, like, a big one for me and my family is, like, changing the air filter, making sure that the thermostat is set at the proper temperature. In your opinion, what is the proper temperature when you leave your house to set your thermostat at?
In my opinion, well, that might differ from, I guess you could say, the codes that are out there that actually set that sort of thing. It really depends on what type of season we're at.
Sure, so if it's summer. Yeah.
I would say if you're not going to be there for a while, probably you don't want to go higher than 78.
Okay.
So now the codes will say higher. However, the problem is the higher you go, the more work your HVAC system has to do once you do get home to bring the temperature down.
Sure.
And it may take the whole night.
Yeah.
Or several hours for you to get to that comfortable temperature.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's kind of I guess you could say it's kind of a balancing act between, wanting to conserve energy, but also
wanting to stay cool.
Yeah, not jeopardizing,
Yeah.
or making yourself too uncomfortable in the process.
Sure. So do you have any more tips that you'd like to give us?
Yes, a lot more. So one is unplugging unused appliances. I know we all like to leave appliances that we're not using plugged in. However, in case you didn't know, all appliances draw electricity. They sometimes refer it as a phantom draw. And so that'll just keep drawing that power as long as it's plugged in. So the obvious solution is to unplug it. However, there is a simpler way to kind of make sure that this phantom draw doesn't take place, and that is to use a power strip. So if you plug in all these appliances into a power strip, when you're no longer using them, like say you're leaving the house, you can go to the power strip and just flick the switch, and that will prevent any power from getting drawn from any of those appliances.
Very cool. Little hack. Save yourself a little bit of time.
Yeah. And then some more like general things when it comes to appliances, like going for more energy efficient ones. Pretty much anything labeled with the Energy Star are good to get. LED bulbs, switching to LED bulbs is also a big one. You ideally would replace all your lights with LEDs, but if you're on a budget, you could always target high use areas to replace with LEDs. And one of the benefits, that not only reduces your electrical consumption, which may, save you money on your power bill or even Fort Stewart's power bill, but it also, LEDs last much longer than your general fluorescent bulbs. So once you put that LED bulb in, that bulb is basically good for, anywhere from 5 to 7 years.
Sure.
And when you compare that to a fluorescent bulb, which will be out in like 2, so you're probably buying 2 or 3 sets of bulb for that one fixture, as opposed to just buying one LED.
Sure.
So it can also save you money on material costs. And then when it comes to kind of going back to your HVAC question, a big thing we see is just, keeping your doors and windows closed whenever you have the heating and cooling on. You don't want your HVAC system to be running longer or harder than it needs to be by trying to heat the outside or pulling in heat, into the building.
Yeah.
And then also for the kitchen, you can check your refrigerator and freezer door seals for any cracks or breaches. That way you're not making your refrigerator or freezer work harder to keep the contents cool or frozen. And there is also this one interesting factoid or tip, you can say, that I learned was you can cover liquids or wrap foods in the refrigerator, because if you leave them uncovered, they'll release moisture as they're being cooled. And that causes the compressor in the refrigerator to work harder. And if it's working harder, that means more energy is used. So that was one thing I did not know, which is...
That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty interesting. It makes sense, though, because, you put a container in, you kind of see all the water droplets on the top of the lid.
Yeah.
So you can kind of test it yourself and see.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, I really always like to cover my food just because I like my food to be covered, but I never realized that I was actually doing something good to save energy in the same process. So that's awesome.
Yep, it was news to me too.
Yeah, good tip.
So that kind of closes out my energy tips, but I also wanted to hit on water tips.
Sure.
Kind of not focused on as much. But one of the, I think, important facts about the water here at Fort Stewart that a lot of people overlook is that we actually produce our own water here on the installation. We don't purchase it, from outside the installation. We're producing it right here. So that means all of our water costs, or the vast majority of our water costs, are really electricity costs. So by conserving water, you're basically reducing or helping to reduce our electricity bill. So some of the things you can do, for example, is if you have, a dishwasher or your washer for your clothes, you can make sure that you are only cleaning a full load, or if your appliance has the option for a half load, you can go towards that. But basically you want to just, whichever load you go for, make sure it kind of fits that requirement, because it doesn't really matter if you put one plate in there or 20 plates, it's going to use the same amount of water regardless.
Sure.
So you want to be as efficient as possible when you're cleaning those plates or those, sweaters or t-shirts that you have.
I've learned so much from you.
Yeah. I do have a few more. Just what I want to get
keep
through.
Keep them coming.
Okay, so another thing, I know this might not be favorable to everyone, but, utilizing low-flow shower heads and toilets. I know there might be some people who are not fond of those.
Who really like the water pressure.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But, now, I mean, you don't have to follow all these tips. Even adopting a couple is a step in the right direction. Another thing that people may do that you want to avoid, not letting the faucet run while you're brushing your teeth, because you can spend maybe like 8 gallons of water just by letting it run.
That's my kids. I hope my kids are listening to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read that kind of like your average faucet puts out like 2 gallons a minute. So.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're at like 1 minute already, or 2 minutes, you're already at 4 gallons. So
wow. Okay.
Significant.
Yep.
And then also, if you kind of see any leaky faucets in your home or at your workplace in the break room, just make sure you call in a service order. Again, that number is 767-2883 for Fort Stewart and 315-4003 for Hunter. And kind of stating the obvious, but, addressing the leaky faucets, we're not wasting water here.
Yeah.
Because that can certainly add up if you let it go.
Sure. Well, you have given us so many awesome tips. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I will add that, it is a team effort, Everyone can contribute, and some of these changes, I realize some of them are a bit more difficult than others, but I think the best way to take a positive step is to at least try it, and try to make it into a habit, and then eventually it just becomes second nature.
Sure, yeah. Just like you said a couple minutes ago, even just adopting 1 or 2 of these practices can really help out a whole lot. And also it's important, I think, for everybody to remember that October is Energy Action Month, but this is something that obviously we would like to continue doing all year round. This is just the month that we call attention to it, but it's kind of like Earth Day. Earth Day is every day. Well, so is conserving energy. It should be an everyday thing.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I thank you so much for being on the show with me today. This has just been so educational. I know I'm taking so much away from this. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you guys would like to learn more about energy conservation tips, we do encourage you guys to visit our Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield Facebook page, where we will make sure to be posting lots more tips for you guys to take away with you throughout this whole entire month. But that would be it for this week's edition of the Marne Report, and this is Molly signing off.
Are you looking for more places to get your news? Subscribe to the Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield YouTube channel. As we add to this platform throughout the year, users will have access to installation tours, news updates, and plenty of motivating videos featuring 3ID soldiers and more. Visit youtube.com and search Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield.